excited to have a friend of mine now, Jennifer Etzel, on the show because she has an incredible story of inspiration and hope. And boy, did it ever start with a downward spiral. Jennifer, it's good to have you here.
Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for always, I will say this, thank you for always going out there and sharing your story because it is so inspiring. I've had you on the podcast before, and you know, let's do the down dirty version of your story because let me tell you, you were a nurse, and then you ended up facing prison time, running with the cartel, and nearly lost everything. What sent you first spiraling when you were a nurse?
You know, now that I've dug into my addiction, it was probably that I was always an addict. I was just an addict in ways that everybody seemed to praise. Maybe an extreme athlete or extreme degree getter or extreme workaholic. I always had to strive for titles. So I think that lack of balance in my life really showed the addict in me, but I did start by abusing Adderall. That's how I started.
What was the point where you realized this is just absolutely out of control?
You know, it's such a good question because when you're in it, you're like drowning in this whirlpool and you know it's not right. You weren't raised like this. You know this is wrong. You don't really realize it until you get in front of a judge and you realize that right now, this is it. I'm done. There is no hope for me. I have 3 felonies. They're literally going to put me in prison today. And that's when it hit me really hard.
Your felonies were for what kind of crimes?
They were drug-related, self-harm to myself. One of them was for transporting marijuana because I did get wrapped up into the cartel. I was dating somebody who was a cartel member. I was very, very naive, and they used me, basically.
How did you start turning things around?
Well, I was facing prison, and I was really, really terrified. I had twin boys that I had lost custody of, facing prison, had a drug addiction, lost everything that normal people had, home, career, everything. Finally, I was able to go to a rehab, and I stayed there for almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I just lived very humbly in a woman's apartment that they had there. And slowly but surely, as I worked the steps of recovery, and most importantly, forgave myself, that I was my biggest hindering block. I could not forgive myself. I felt like if I forgave myself, it was giving myself a pass on all that I had done wrong, that it was saying it was okay that I basically abandoned my children. It was okay that I lost my nursing license. It was okay that I shamed my family. But I had to let that grief go. It was like a weight. And once I did that, everything just turned around.
You had your nursing license before all that hit you.
Correct.
And then you ended up losing your nursing license. Because when it comes to nursing, right, they don't want anything on your record.
That is correct.
You can't be doing what you were doing and still be a nurse. What I love so much about your story is that you didn't take that as the final answer, and that you fought so hard to prove by your actions, not your words, Jennifer, by your actions that you were a changed person. And you were able to finally, one of the rarities, to get your nursing license back. What was that moment like when you got the letter saying that you can now be a nurse again?
It was the culmination. You know, I got my kids back. I got my felony set aside. I had material items. I was putting things back together that I had lost. But that was just that one thing that everybody told me, like, they're never going to give you back your nursing license. There's no way. But I persisted, and I had a girlfriend of mine who was like, you're crazy, fear's a liar, just do it. You need to do it, you need to try. And I even was like, there's no way. I read all the articles about nursing in the Arizona Board of Nursing. They're not gonna give me it. They don't give you if you have felonies. And I'm telling you, that moment was surreal. It was absolutely miraculous that they all voted unanimously to reinstate my RN.
Can you talk about why you wanted to share your story? I mean, I thought that was beautiful how you said you had to release yourself, because there's many elements of probably guilt and shame that go along with your story. And a lot of people would not want to be other people to know. You'd want to just move on.
Yeah.
Why is it important for you to stand up and say, this is what happened, this is what I did, but importantly, here's how I moved on?
Because I want to help one nurse, one person, but really one nurse. Nurses are suffering right now. The pandemic has destroyed their mental health so much. And there are people that are predisposed to maybe excessive drinking at night or partying too hard on the weekend, and they can still manage to function on Monday. But really, they need to know there is help out there. You don't have to get to the level that I was, where you lost your nursing license and you got felonies and you had to fight for it to get back. We need to catch these nurses now.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that we're not here. The Board of Nursing is not there to set you up for failure. They're not there to pull your license and take away your career. They really do want to help you.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing you're doing. You're taking your past trauma, you've healed from it, and now trying to help others with it. And you're also on this other mission. And I think that mission is always speaking it out loud of some things that you would like to see change in the current way that our system is set up just here in America in so many levels. Is that you're really trying to get people who were even in your line of work and understanding, like, how can we get our records expunged after a certain amount of time of doing good in the community? Why does that always have to be a scarlet letter on somebody for the rest of their life?
Yes, unfortunately in Arizona, we do not have expungement. We have set aside, which is worthless. It really just says that you've completed your probation, you've paid your fines, you're clear to own a firearm or vote or serve on a jury. It really does nothing to get rid of my past. I've totally atoned for myself. I'm a new person. I'm, reborn again, so to speak, and yet everywhere I go, those felonies that I did to myself, I didn't harm anybody, children, God forbid, or anything like that, constantly follow me. And I was telling you, I can't even get life insurance for myself for felonies from 13 years ago. And it causes recidivism in people.
It absolutely does. It's just like why I no longer call myself an addict. I don't physically use that term, the active term. I'm not an addict today. I'm not. I've healed from that.
People cannot continually be punished for the rest of my life for a mistake I made 13 years ago. And it just doesn't end.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. What would be your takeaway message for people who maybe have gone through some rough stuff and who feel ashamed of what they've done?
Honestly, speaking about it is the most freeing thing you can do. I know you want to bottle it up and you want to hide it and you want to present this persona, and we live in this Instagram world.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels so good to get it out and not have to walk in that shame and guilt. If I can help one person and feel that they can connect to me and say, you know what, I'm going to speak about it today, that's all I ask.
Jennifer, thank you very much.
beautiful.
We appreciate you. That is really beautiful. Thank you so much.